not reflect that of the staff and management of WNOV and W293CX 106.5 FM Courier Communications Milwaukee, but are the sole comments of the host and guest of this particular show.
Started right out the gate. Welcome to Be a Voice Radio, Wisconsin Voices at 860 WNOV 106.5 FM. Your boy is back. Brian Sanders here, community outreach organizer for Wisconsin Voices. Just want to say what's up to everybody. I was out yesterday, just I had a busy weekend, so you got to replenish, rehydrate, get yourself together. I want to shout out to Sanders family and to everybody that was coming to town. Also to the homie Vita that come in town from NY, everybody else that came in and supported sending off of my great aunt Barbara Housey. So shout out to all the family that I seen this past weekend. Yesterday's show was pretty cool. I was like watching David and Joe get into talking about the political scene and what's going on. I know we got a lot going on today. We'll definitely have Mr. David Bowen back in the building for the second segment after the commercial break with 414 Life and I believe Medical College of Wisconsin to talk about violence prevention. But right now we have another great guest to start off today's Tuesday show. And before we do that, what's up to Debo and shout out to Jermaine and all the man, I'm doing pretty good. Debo, thanks for asking. I hope you had a great weekend. I didn't get to see you yesterday, and Jermaine, hope the same for you as well.
Yes, sir.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into this guest. So today we're joined by Mr. Joshua Liston Zawadi, better known as Melanated Daddy, founder of the Dad Doula University and Life Redefined. Did I say that right?
You said it all right, brother. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. He's a Milwaukee-based father, trauma-informed facilitator, and community healer, reshaping how we talk about fatherhood, emotional wellness, and Black family health. Man, welcome to the show, Be a Voice Radio. What's going on, my guy?
Let me tell you, that was an amazing intro.
You like that one?
Yeah, that was I didn't send that to you. That was good.
No,
yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm glad it worked out because I was hoping that yeah, you know what? When you go through and you see what you've done online and it's right there, you see you can put something together real easy. So it come together, it kind of flows. So thank you for making it easy for me.
I appreciate you, brother. That's my job.
Yeah. So you got a lot going on, and I've been wanting to do this and just connect with you in a lot of spaces, not just on the radio, but in the organizational space as well. We just want to get straight into it. I will be having you back to go in more details because we can talk about this from different angles. But you got an event coming up, and I know we can get right into it. And then when you come back, I want to go into the more extensive stuff. But let's just talk about your powerful daddy stroller event. What inspired you to launch this gathering? Why was it important to center Black and brown fathers walking with their kids through Milwaukee?
I appreciate that question. I think the issue is that Black fatherhood, regardless of how much we show up, has a permanent stain until we change the narrative.
Okay.
Right. And so when I say that, we're always told Black fathers don't show up.
Yeah.
The data shows us otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Me as a father will show you otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
The gang of fathers will show you otherwise. But we have to often put ourselves in places to be seen to change the narrative so we can stop hearing it.
Yeah. Why is that narrative? And then just a little side question. Why is that narrative still sticking when it's showing in the data that the Black fathers are the most present fathers in the United States?
Trauma is a big one. Okay. Historical trauma, current day trauma. We as a people often don't heal. We just perpetuate.
Okay.
And because we don't heal, what happens is the narrative continues to go, even though the data and the factuals are different.
Mm-hmm.
True story. My wife had 2 kids before I came into the picture.
Mm-hmm.
And before I came into the picture, her narrative was just that Black fathers don't show up. But because I had I came in and changed her narrative and changed her truth, she had to deal with that trauma.
Yeah.
So now my wife will never ever say Black fathers don't show up because I show up every day.
Yeah.
But her reality was that until she did the work. And so once she did the work, she could heal from that and have a different story to tell. I think we don't do our work.
Yeah.
It's easier to perpetuate trauma and perpetuate a stigma than it is to recognize that the stigma isn't an overarching thing. It's a personal thing. Black fathers show up. Now, did the man that I create would show up? That's a different conversation.
All right.
But Black fathers show up every day.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, yeah, I see it, and I got a bunch of close homeboys that shout out and show up. I can shout out that show up every single day. Just going into that second question. Thanks for that answer. The image of Black fathers with strollers in public, laughing, holding space, being seen is a powerful one. And I know we seeing that. We don't get to see that too often. But how did people in the neighborhood, and how will think the people in the neighborhood will respond to this day, and what impact would you like to see or have you seen with with them first strollers? What type of impact are you trying to see out there?
I am trying to show that Black joy is revolution.
Okay.
Right. And so regardless of what the administration is doing, regardless of what politics, the world, whatever we're going through, we're going to choose to be radically joyous every day. And so this is just a snippet of what does Black joy look like, including our families, including our spouses, our partners. What does joy look like, and how do we make it revolutionary?
I like that.
We chose Estabrook Park by reason. It's a park that does not often have our influence.
No,
does not have our footsteps.
Unless it's family reunions or something like
that. It does not have us in the space, and we're changing that.
Yeah,
I want this park to see Black fathers joyous, combined, in a place where it's and breaking the silo of Black fatherhood. My experience is not uniquely mine. As a million other Black fathers who have my same let's come together, talk about it, and let's see how we can utilize our voices and our collective stances to change fatherhood globally.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I see so many young guys, just even where I stay at my neighborhood, or just young ones, making that attempt. They probably don't have nobody like a Josh or somebody in certain spaces that it's such a sensitive space to have a relationship, and they need that type of connection because they out here, they doing it. They might only see, you know how I get in these relationships. It just be you and y'all two, and it's just y'all two against the world and the baby, and we just in our own little silos. You should have somebody that you can express that emotion to when it's getting rough and it's getting tough. And it shouldn't just have to be, to a group of guys that may not understand your pain because they haven't took that space in life, or they may just be too immature to, step up to the plate in their own space. And you like, man, I'm over that. I need to be somewhere in a space with a, in a melanated daddy space where I can grow and keep growing and get to a space where I can continue to be a provider for my kids. That the networking, this is just another form of networking to make you a better person. So,
exactly. Shout out to the consortium, my own personal group of brothers who deal with me every day. And we have a rule. The only rule we have is if you call, I have to answer.
Yeah.
If I can't answer, I have to call you back ASAP because there's a reason you called. We don't just call to talk. There's a reason. And so I have to be available for my brother because I am my brother's keeper. If I'm not, then I got to change my whole stance. Yeah, and so we show up for each other differently than like a regular friend would because we understand the rules to engagement. Yeah. If you call me, there's a reason. I got to show up.
Yeah. Heavy on the intention then.
Heavy on the intention.
Yeah.
Got to be.
I like that. All right, got the next one for you. We often hear about fathers, being missing. I think we talked about this a little bit, but your event flips that script entirely. How does that daddy stroller challenge media narratives or stereotypes about Black fatherhood? You will have the media, you will have smaller groups of media folks out there. I think that's a great question. You back in the challenge and the narrative again. Would you like to dig a little deeper into it? I know within this conversation, it has to be hit from different angles. So, what role does visibility play in breaking those stigmas?
So I think the first part of breaking the stigma is that this event was asked for by Black women. Let me first lead with that. So Black women were sending me. I have a brother of mine who runs the Daddy Stroller events in Dallas, Texas. Okay. As well as Chicago. He's nationwide. Okay. And I called him first, like, hey, bro, I'm finna put my own on. You cool? He said, do it. Yeah. And they all sent me his clips. Like, Josh, we need this in Milwaukee. Black women. We need this for Black men in Milwaukee. I bet. You send it to me, I'll create it. We'll make it happen. And so the first part of changing narrative is our own people ask for this. That's key. you can't change a narrative that people don't want changed. Some people find joy in being broken. Other people find joy in seeing the narrative changed. And the people who said, literally 7 other black women like, Josh, do this.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm on it. So that was the first part. I think number 2 is it's not even that black fathers aren't involved, is we want to show you how happy we are to be fathers. I'm no longer changing the narrative of black fathers don't show up. The data's already disproved that. We are the single highest group of fathers that show up.
I've seen it in multiple
We are
stories.
the single highest group of fathers that show
true.
up. So I'm no longer challenging or fixing that one. My next thing is being a father is a joyous act. I love being a dad. Is it tough? Of course, because my kids do all the dumb stuff. And I love them for it because they got to learn. But even through this toughness, the love, the gratitude, and the joy I get from doing it amounts to almost nothing else. And so this is going to be a complete visual exploration of joy. Our videographers will be out there. They have one simple ask. I need nothing but joyous photos and videos of this event. Black fathers are happy to be fathers. We love being fathers. We love the responsibility that comes with it. I tell my children all the time, becoming a father changed my life. And not for the bad. You made daddy grow up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And we're going to show that joy publicly. And so this is the first of many. We chose this park specifically because there is no black representation. The next one's in the hood. And we're going to keep this thing going at every park in the city until every park can say they see black fathers. Yeah. And that's the point.
I like that. I like that a lot. And that's important. It has to be consistent. You know, we talk about that in the acts of even just within Wisconsin Voices. You know, we say that we are about, you know, voting rights and doing this and this and that when it comes to protecting democracy, but we have to show that we are actually protecting democracy and going in these spaces, you know, and working with the organizations that are, you know, trying to protect democracy, already doing it, and the ones that may not be clueless about it, you know, enlightening them about that space. And this is, like you said, this is just something that it's a practice, you know, being in the parks, being seen, being visual, people join in, other groups of young men are joining in. Now, you know, this is 860. You know, WNOV is known for a nice, you know, group of some of our, shout out to our baby boomers and our Gen X's in the mix. What do you say to those granddads that are daddy, you know, take some of these granddads got custody of those grandbabies? Is this an invite to them too?
Of course, hands down. I have black women who signed up.
Yeah.
Even though it's a daddy stroller. Yeah. A father is a component of a family. So bring your family. My wife will be there. All 4 of my kids will be there. And we walk it. And we're going to do the thing. So yes, grandfathers, father figures. My flyer is specific. It doesn't say just fathers. I need father figures there. Because I have young people coming who don't have a father. Yeah. Pair up. Yeah. Start to create those bonds. Start to heal those intergenerational wounds because my daddy didn't show up, but I'm here. All of that will take place here. So this is not just, be very clear. You do not have to be a biological father to be here. You have to have a heart for children to be here. Okay. Because I promise you, young people will be here looking for somebody to walk with, looking for somebody to talk with, somebody to break bread with. Specifically, because I'm adopted. Most of my family is by choice. I didn't have a father to show me how to do this. I had to struggle and figure it out on my own. Yeah. I don't want other young men to have to do that. Come get you a mentor, come get you a father figure, bond, connect, and grow. Yeah. And that's the point. Yeah.
I do want to shout out Mr. Joshua Liston Zawadi as well as being a Army vet, correct? Army vet right here. So thank you for your service. And your wife as well is a vet of, she's in the service, correct? She's in the service? Okay. Wow, I always thought she was in the service too. I thought y'all met somewhere. I don't know why I thought y'all came back. High school sweetheart. Okay, it just seemed like y'all known each other forever. I've known you forever, literally.
Yes, I've known you forever. Yes. Yeah. But, I met my wife in high school. I didn't shoot my shot till we were 30.
Okay, there you go. He's a real one too, y'all. He letting them know. All right, I got a couple more for you before we get up out here, so make sure I get these in. You made this event both healing and joyful. There's wellness, brotherhood, and even barbers and doulas that'll probably be on site. I'm sure you know a lot of people that be in the space. Can you walk us through what participants experience, what they can experience in this event, and what outside of what we talked about, what makes it so special? Just not only for the folks that be there, what's making it so special for you?
So they're gonna come in and get a welcome desk, get a swag bag. Okay. I have local vendors who are actively right now creating keepsakes for these men. Okay. And I didn't ask them. They didn't charge me. Like, Josh, I want to support Black fathers. Do what you do. I put in the bag, let's set it up.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have bakers, we have vendors who are all like, Josh, I want to give to Black fathers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Shout out to City of Milwaukee Health Department, Dad Project, and Mighty Small Moments. Every father who comes to this will get a free ticket to Black Arts Fest MKE.
Nice.
Which is later on. It starts at noon that day.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Jesus.
Nice.
So you'll come and then you will walk and
Okay.
then you will get that ticket to Black Arts Fest for
Okay.
you and your family.
Nice. Okay.
Any children under 7 get in free.
Okay.
Anybody over that, you got to pay for it. But your ticket and your spouse's ticket will be free.
Okay.
So you get up to 2 tickets for free. You come, you walk, we will stretch. We will have different organizations like Dad Project, Dad Doula, all of us in the space to meet, greet, talk. We're going to walk. We're going to sweat. We have a good time.
Yeah.
About 1.5 to 2 mile walk.
Yeah. That's the perfect part
back,
to do it.
Stretch again, have some conversation, connect,
Mm-hmm.
get numbers, get contacts, build your community, and then go. Go about your business. It's gonna be hot. Go about your business and get to Black Arts Fest. And then at Black Arts Fest, we have the Pop Up for Pop section, which is a playground for just children and their fathers.
Okay.
At the Black Arts Fest, a bunch of community vendors, a bunch of resources, signature dance company. It's going to be a whole thing, surrounding fathers being able to engage with their children. Now, moms are welcome, all family are welcome, but the focus is Black men having a space to curate conversation, curate connection, and curate brotherhood in a space.
Okay. Nice. Sounds like the perfect time to do all that. Looking ahead, how do you envision, it's your last question, how do you envision the daddy stroller growing into 2026 and beyond? And other plans to take it to, like we already said that, to take it out of neighborhoods. You said we start off neighborhoods and they sound even other cities. And how can the community support the next one?
Oh, that's a really good question. My goal, my wife challenged me all the time, Josh, just do the thing. Right. And so I haven't even given thought of the community ask. I'm gonna just continue to do the thing.
Okay.
Right. Feel free. Life Redefined is a nonprofit. We'll take all the donations, all the help. But as of right now, my focus is creating experiences to change families. Right. And that's the motto of Life Redefined, is we navigate family through a lens of experiences and growth.
Okay.
And so I don't know what the ask is, to be honest with you. If you want to partner, you want to help, feel free. But between myself, the city of Milwaukee, we have decided, Dad Project, we've decided that this is going to be a renewable project. This is not a one and done. This is the beginning of a movement that we want to create, where fathers, non-birthing people, grandfathers, mentors, brothers have a space.
I like that.
You know what? Yeah. I just want to bond. I just want to find my tribe. I want to find brothers that I can build with on another level. Will come out.
Yeah, and I always tell people on Be a Voice that if you not into this space, there's a space out here for you to get into and meet with great people. You're not cool with the political space. That's all right. You're not cool with the whatever other areas that's going on. We can find somewhere. And this right here, for a lot of fathers is important. And you can be sharpening. Is this the iron sharpens iron?
Iron sharpens iron.
Yeah,
that's my motto.
All right. What else do you have in store? What else would you like to do? Any shout outs or anything before we get up out here?
So shout out to Sherman Phoenix. They are allowing me to do our first ever Dad Doula, and I partner with Ronnie, a lactician inside the Sherman Phoenix. We are going to do a back to school event.
Okay.
So we're excited for that. That'll be coming up on social media soon. Finishing the flyer. They have the flyer, so you'll see it shortly.
Yeah, it's definitely
but we are doing that coming up next month at Sherman Phoenix.
Okay.
Book bags, food, everything. I'm working on barbers now, doing the whole thing to make sure that we send these babies back to school with dignity.
All right.
Different level of respect, right?
Yeah.
And then just resources for the family, Dad Doulas. Next session is September. So the first and fourth Saturday of September will be Dad Doula. The fourth Saturday will be a graduation of every father that I had this year. And so we have a lot coming up. So super dope, excited for just the growth of what we're doing.
Yeah, I'm having you come back, man. This was just a quick intro into the Be a Voice world. We're gonna have you come back because this is important. People need to understand, more, and men in Milwaukee could definitely learn a lot from you and what you got going on. So God bless you, man. Shout out to you. We can tap in with you anytime, man. We got Joshua Listens Zawadi from Melanated Daddies and a bunch of other places associated with keeping Milwaukee on point. Be a Voice Radio, Wisconsin Voices. We'll be back with David Bowen and the crew with the next part of the interviews.
AURN News.
I'm Jamie Jackson. President Trump's second-term poll numbers remain under pressure, but a new Wall Street Journal survey shows Democrats are facing an even steeper challenge. The poll finds that 63% of voters now hold an unfavorable view of the Democratic Party. That's the highest level recorded since the Journal began tracking the question back in 1990. Just 8% of voters said they have a very favorable opinion of the party. Now, Republicans aren't widely popular either, but 19% of voters said they view the GOP very favorably, more than double the number of Democrats. Now, the Journal reports that Democrats have not yet convinced voters that they can govern more effectively than Trump's party. The results suggest a crisis of credibility that could shape how voters view both Congress and the White House heading into 2026. For AURN News, I'm Jamie Jackson.
Here's your updated forecast. We'll see a few scattered showers and thunderstorms at times here for today, with partial sunshine developing and a high in the mid-80s. Winds out of the east around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, a slight chance for showers and thunderstorms, mostly cloudy, a low near 67. By Wednesday, a chance for rain showers and storms, cloudy, high of 75 degrees. And Thursday, plenty of blue skies and sun. We'll see a high around 75. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on AM 860, The Voice.
Remembering what we stand for. At Wisconsin Voices, we remember what we stand for. Check out our movement dedicated to empowering citizens and shaping the future. Engage with us on our website, social media, and podcast to make a difference. Visit wisconsinvoices.org. Explore our events calendar, like and subscribe to us on social media. Listen to recent podcasts and radio, and subscribe to our email and newsletter. Amplify your voice and be a voice today.
You're listening to Wisconsin Voices Be a Voice Radio. Follow us at BAWI Voice and learn more at wisconsinvoices.org.
Wisconsin Voices' 3 pillars are protecting democracy. Your vote is your voice. Wisconsin Voices works to protect democracy in Wisconsin by fighting voter suppression, promoting voting rights, and ensuring fair elections for all. Teaching advocacy. Teaching advocacy empowers and educates advocates in Wisconsin by offering training, resources, and support to enhance their skills, fostering a more informed and effective advocacy community for social and economic change. Building community. Wisconsin Voices builds strong communities for a healthy democracy by collaborating with diverse partners, creating networks for positive change, and fostering a sense of belonging and common purpose. Learn more about Wisconsin Voices by going to wisconsinvoices.org. Learn more about what our partners are doing by visiting the events calendar. Listen to recent episodes by going to our podcast and radio. Get involved today.
You're listening to WNOV 860 and W293CX 106.5 Milwaukee.
Good morning, Milwaukee. Good morning. Really appreciate Josh coming in. This is David Bowen, Executive Director of Wisconsin Voices. This is Be a Voice Radio, and we wanted to get a chance to give you guys a double dose of some of the community happenings and the insights on some of the top issues that are happening right now. And really appreciate Brian for kicking off the show. Today, we got some champions in the building on violence prevention, and we know that violence continues to be a topic of discussion for you all out there, and we wanted to make sure we could bring some expertise in the building. So we have all connections to the Medical College of Wisconsin and the 401 for Life team. We have Reggie Moore, we have Mark Bridges, and we got Tristan Gross. These are brothers that I've known for quite some time, and they're always on the front lines. And want to let them introduce themselves of what they're doing right now and how they're connected to the solutions on violence prevention.
Cool. Appreciate you, David. For those listeners out there, Reggie Moore, Director Division of Community Safety, Policy and Engagement at the Medical College of Wisconsin Comprehensive Injury Center. A lot of our work is statewide across the state, where we support organizations and local governments who are engaging in addressing gun violence in particular as a public health issue, but we also invest in various forms of community safety projects throughout the state. We actually partnered with the current governor, Evers, on establishing the first statewide community safety fund. And so we were able to allocate $10 million to communities across the state. And, you know, that was ARPA funded. So obviously that is about to come to an end. We also house the 401 for Life program. And so we're honored to be a partner with the city of Milwaukee on that effort. And Mark Briggs here supervises the hospital component of the program, which is an extremely critical component that supports individuals directly impacted by gun violence and their families at a critical point. It's basically one of the worst experiences in someone's life, being shot, and intervening and trying to break that cycle of further harm or retaliation that often results from that. And then Tristan Gross leads our training and technical assistance work for our statewide efforts to address violence as a public health issue. But I'll let each of them introduce themselves and talk about their role at work.
Appreciate that, Reg.
I'll jump in. Thank you, Reggie. Mark Briggs, hospital responder supervisor for 401 for Life. Very happy to be a part of the team. Just passed my 2 years with the program. Very impactful work we're doing in the hospital. We're housed at Freighter every day, me and my team, seeing families in real time, bedside, working with Freighter staff, working with other area hospitals in real time to make sure families are not only getting the medical information that they need to get back whole and healthy, but also working with the hospital staff on the discharge plan, aftercare plan, safety and retaliation concerns. If that's an issue, that's always our first question. But everything starts with the holistic healing and getting people back home, and then helping them reform their lives after very traumatic experiences. So very proud to be here, very happy to discuss these matters and try to get in front of it as much as we can.
Really appreciate that, Mark.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. My name is Tristan Gross. I'm the Education Program Coordinator. My role really is to support municipalities, organizations, and coalitions to move toward a public health approach to addressing community safety, or to building community safety. And that public health approach really is just founded in the fact that we know that people aren't born violent, right? And that there are conditions in folks' life that they experience that increase the risk to perpetrate violence. And so identifying those root causes, naming them, and then working to address those at a societal level to reduce overall risk of violence and improve community safety. And then the other part about a public health approach is that it has to be in partnership with community, right? It can't just be a group of talking heads sitting at a table, identifying solutions for a community, but it really is following community. And I think that's a shift in the way that lots of folks typically work in the field. I also helped to support the 10 grantees. So Reggie mentioned the $10 million that went out to communities throughout the state. We have three of our grantees who work in community violence interruption, similar to 401 for Life team in Racine, focused interruption in Madison in the city of Green Bay. We have 4 organizations who are working on gender-based violence, so domestic violence and sexual assault. We have 2 organizations, one in Madison, one in the Fox Cities area, who's looking at a culturally relevant response to suicide and suicide prevention. And then we have a grantee in Kenosha who's looking at supporting young people in career and college readiness as a prevention strategy. And so it really is then just looking at how do we support both the local communities in doing their work, but then kind of mining all of the lessons learned, and then stepping back and saying, as a state, how do we promote community safety so that every Wisconsinite can reach their full potential?
Appreciate you sharing that. I went to the listening session of Superintendent Caselius last night at Congress School, and a good amount of the community showed up and were engaged. She's been one of the few leaders to highlight. Now we're up to 30 MPS students that have been killed so far this year, and through different situations, not just violence, but some through reckless driving or car accidents and a number of different factors. But gun violence has been one that she has highlighted as trying to keep firearms out of the hands of young people. And as you talk about like the public health approach, and when I hear, even sometimes folks will call in and talk about like their frustrations with seeing the images of violence and trying to find a source that, finding like what is the disconnect, what are we not doing as we are seeing these images. It's one of the things that I think it's hard for folks to understand the ecosystem, or the folks that are in the across the spectrum that are working from different angles to address this. So dive deeper into that public health approach and like help people understand what an everyday solution looks like from your perspective and what y'all are doing.
Yeah, I definitely want to, and this isn't a new journey for our city, because we, thousands of residents were engaged in developing what's known as the Blueprint for Peace. And for those listening, you can check it out at forumforlife.com. That was definitely one of the largest efforts to not just increase understanding, but actually center the voices of people in our community, particularly those that have been deeply impacted by violence, and identifying the priorities and solutions for addressing gun violence as a public health issue, and not just gun violence, but domestic violence, sexual assault, all various forms of violence. And so there were 6 goals and 30 strategies or priorities that came out of that plan. And Forum for Life is actually an example of the blueprint in action. We'll mention later in the conversation something called VR Fast, which is an example of goal 6 in the blueprint. And so again, the blueprint has been implemented, but it was never up to one office or one agency to implement it alone. It really was any individual, any nonprofit organization, any public entity could look at the priorities in the blueprint and really be accountable to say, how am I contributing to moving these priorities forward? I think Milwaukee County in particular has done an excellent job of that, where they took the blueprint and kind of mapped it across all of their services within the Department of Health and Human Services. Part of that inspired the creation of the Credible Messenger Partnership, which involves 5 community organizations, including the Youth Advocacy Program, West Care, Running Rebels, Forum for Life, and others. And so so people may often forget that entire process, and the fact that the release of the blueprint coincided with a steady 4-year decline in homicides and non-fatal shootings prior to 2020. And then lastly, I want to say many folks have been highlighting
the pandemic.
Yeah. And but a lot of people have been recently highlighting Baltimore as an example and saying, like, why aren't we doing what Baltimore is doing? I know Mayor Scott Whale. And even when he was running, I supported, his efforts, and, he actually studied the blueprint and was interested in saying, like, how, looking at ways to align that with the work in building their Monty office in Baltimore. And the thing that I tell people, elected officials here and across the country, is that don't even call him if you are not willing to invest what he's investing. Don't call him if you're not prepared as a public official to champion this work, and not just champion it when it's convenient, when it's comfortable, but when it's politically contentious. And like to your point, where people are frustrated and people question whether these approaches are working or not. And just lastly, in terms of the decline prior to this year that city's seen, including Milwaukee, with a steady 2-year decline, community violence intervention programs like Forum for Life, like Credible Messengers across the country have contributed to that decline, in a large part due to the historic investments at the federal level in community violence intervention across the country. So obviously there's concern with funding cuts and uncertainty around at least at the national level, an ongoing commitment to this issue, but locally, we definitely want to stay the course.
Yeah. I'm kind of a nerd. So when I think of public health approach, right, like,
and Tristan is lying. He has a whiteboard in his always in his vicinity at a lot of times.
Next to the poker table.
Right.
And color markers.
Right.
Definitely color markers.
But like we have, I think there's a lot of feelings. People have a lot of feelings about what's happening.
Mhm.
And I think, we know that we cannot follow feelings. We have a wealth of data that shows us what's going on. And part of that data leads us to solutions, right? So if we look at what happens, the increase of risk when a firearm is involved, whether that's in community violence, whether that's in domestic violence, whether that's in suicide, right? When a firearm is involved, risk of serious injury and fatality increases exponentially, right? And so we have data that tells us that leads us to one strategy in terms of solution. We know when things are happening. We know who things are happening to, right? So if we look at the fact that Black women between the ages of 25 and 44 are 6 times more likely to be killed by their intimate partner than their white counterparts, right? We have to be saying, what are we doing? How are we making sure we are keeping Black women safe? How are our domestic violence strategies being tailored to and communicated toward communities that are at the highest risk, in the highest need? And then the other thing around, looking at the data is that there's no expectation that, as Reggie mentioned, that whether one organization, one person is going to do this. It takes an ecosystem.
Right.
But in order for us to build effective ecosystems, we have to kind of put down some of the historical beefs that have happened between organizations, between municipalities. We have to put all those things down. And then the last thing I'll say about a public health approach is it's multi-pronged, right? We have the prevention piece. So, right, everybody talks about let's go upstream. So what are the contributing factors of violence, and how do we address those in terms of prevention? When something happens, what does our intervention look like? What does a comprehensive intervention look like? One that deals with the person who was harmed, the one that deals with the person who caused harm, and that allows people to deal with what occurred in a way that they're not carrying that with them the rest of their lives. Right. And then the last part of that is the postvention or the healing piece. How are we continuing to invest in mental health? How are we continuing to shift community norms around acceptance of violence, and how we wrap around each other to make sure that we can sustain healing and that cycles of violence don't continue?
And I think that's an excellent transition in terms of speaking of healing to Mark and the work that Forum for Life does, and just speaking to the needs that many of the patients have, even beyond their physical injury, and the support that's provided.
Yeah, and when we mentioned ecosystem, and I immediately went back to the word we use as youth is the village. It takes a village, and it still takes a village. From the 70s and 80s, we've always had elders on the neighborhood that was safe. The women and children were always safe. There were laws and morals and values that were unspoken, but were always respected. And somewhere down the line, we lost those. So now we have a lot of chaos in our communities, a lot of lawlessness, and no direction per se for our youth. Our men, women, and children are afraid to come off the porch. Young babies aren't safe in the park. So what does that look like? It looks like everyone at the table and having a vested interest in making sure block by block, door by door, neighbor by neighbor, community by community, we're working on the same thing, which is everybody getting home safe, everybody playing safe, and everybody working safely. Within what we're doing at the hospital, and then also with our other 2 branches of the team with outreach and violence interruption, it all starts with the understanding that everyone deserves premium care once they're in the hospital. So we're receiving real-time calls. Our team is at bedside working with the hospital staff in real time. getting the latest medical information, we're then transferring that information to the immediate families, whether that's in the lobby in real time, bedside real time, or catching them with them in the community at a later date within 24 hours of the incident happening. Once they're there at Freighter Hospital, we're doing a 15-point bedside assessment, detailing what their needs will be getting back home. Not only the physical therapy needs, but to Tristan's point, the mental health needs, the trauma related to the incident, the trauma related to their lives shifting in real time overnight. So what does that look like, right? And bringing those specialists to the table holistically and making sure that part of the discharge plan is not only the physical healing, but the mental healing, the economic impact that they might have, might be a job shift, things of that nature. So we have those assessments ready to go. So when we do a warm handoff in the hospital to our outreach team or our violence interruption team for more heavier level situations of violence, the families, we built that trust in the hospital. We built the extended trust with our extended team to come to the hospital and get the plan, so everyone knows everyone's on the same page related to what does that plan of discharge look like, what does that aftercare look like. So when the families and young people or adults are going home, they have an extended family, they have that village outside of the hospital saying, we're here with you, right? We're here to walk with you during your healing time. And there's no time frame on that. There's no time frame on, or you're going to be okay. Wounds heal, physical wounds heal, but the psychological impact of things can go on for a lifetime. In most cases, they do. And so that's why we have the extended pieces that we have to make sure the families, they're doing their sessions, they're doing the physical therapy, and they're doing all of that. But they also know they have people in the community that are working and fighting to make sure that these services are always available. We're not shutting the door. We're not looking down upon you because of whatever happened. Right. Everyone's being treated fairly and equally. And that's kind of what we do in that sense.
And Greg Jackson, who used to run the White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention.
I do.
And he's
trying to get Greg on the radio too.
Yeah. He's a gunshot survivor, and he was shot in D.C. When he was younger. And one of the things that he remembered is how he was treated as a suspect, even though he was a victim. And so that's something that we've been aware of and cognizant of, and our leadership at Freighter has been open, to making sure, to Mark's point, that patients are treated with dignity, and ensuring that, again, the priority is their health care and their survival. And so there's a lot of layers to that. And we also work with other hospitals across the city. And so I just wanted to underscore that. And definitely I'll be remiss if I don't shout out Lynn Lewis, who's the program director of Forum for Life, who couldn't join us today, but, has worked tirelessly, again, in supporting this team and leading this team, to higher levels. And Forum for Life started in 2018. We've had a lot of amazing folks who have been a part of this team, but extremely proud of the team that we have now.
One of the things that's interesting is, Milwaukee pretty much was the example then. What you're saying, it's like up until 2020, where things were moving in the right direction and the investments were happening and the partnership was there. And it's something Tristan said, where he was like, well, some of the silos and the old beefs we got to get over that. What are the hurdles that we have to get over now? We're in this position where we have leadership that can work together, but can we be specific in the hurdles for us to get in the direction that we need to at this point, because we're kind of losing some of the progress that we have?
Yeah, I can take that from a local level. I would say with the blueprint and any plans like it really is to establish a North Star and to say, what are we collectively working towards in terms of addressing this issue? Because we know about the bureaucratic barriers. We know about red tape. We know that there's going to be shifts and change in leadership. I think, the city's Office of Community Wellness and Safety, I think it's headed to their third director in about the same amount of time. And so, again, stability is important. However, even when you have changes, so for example, David Muhammad started with me in the Office of Violence Prevention and went over to become the Deputy Director of DHHS, and has been a leader in advocating for the implementation and alignment of the blueprint there. And so I think regardless of changes in mayoral leadership or changes in county executive leadership, when you have that level of continuity, that's important. I think for the front line, it's important that there is trust, relationship, and collaboration. I think many of the frontline folks do work together. I think the Credible Messenger partnership has been instrumental in some of those relationships. But also, I think one of the more urgent concerns at the moment is that scarcity can create some of the negative habits that have always, I think, impacted the social sector: competition, division. And so given the fact that funding is going to become more scarce because of the ARPA cliff, the concern is, how do we ensure that we're tracking and articulating the impact and value of this work, and not looking at it as in, let me get mine and, forget everybody else, but saying, if your work is impactful and you're honest about the data, how do we make sure that work is supported and sustained?
Really appreciate you breaking that down. We're going to go to a break and we'll be back.
AURN News.
I'm Jamie Jackson. President Trump's second-term poll numbers remain under pressure, but a new Wall Street Journal survey shows Democrats are facing an even steeper challenge. The poll finds that 63% of voters now hold an unfavorable view of the Democratic Party. That's the highest level recorded since the Journal began tracking the question back in 1990. Just 8% of voters said they have a very favorable opinion of the party. Now, Republicans aren't widely popular either, but 19% of voters said they view the GOP very favorably, more than double the number of Democrats. Now, the Journal reports that Democrats have not yet convinced voters that they can govern more effectively than Trump's party. The results suggest a crisis of credibility that could shape how voters view both Congress and the White House heading into 2026. For AURN News, I'm Jamie Jackson.
Here's your updated forecast. We'll see a few scattered showers and thunderstorms at times here for today, with partial sunshine developing and a high in the mid-80s. Winds out of the east around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, a slight chance for showers and thunderstorms, mostly cloudy, a low near 67. By Wednesday, a chance for rain showers and storms, cloudy, high of 75 degrees. And Thursday, plenty of blue skies and sun. We'll see a high around 75. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on AM 860, The Voice.
You're listening to WNOV 860 and W293CX 106.5 Milwaukee.
Welcome back to Be a Voice Radio. This is David Bowen with Wisconsin Voices, and I got a really good team in the building: Reggie Moore, Mark Bridges, Tristan Gross. They all are in the ecosystem, and we've been talking about that to prevent violence in our community and across the state. Yeah, I've heard Green Bay, I've heard some other communities that they're doing work in, and we want to continue to have this conversation.
Yeah, I think, and I think sometimes we get frustrated with Milwaukee, we get frustrated with our community, but I want to contextualize this, right? Is that difficulties building ecosystem is not a unique Milwaukee thing. So we shouldn't be beating up on ourselves. I think that's one of the things, right? Like, we tend to take a negative kind of perspective on ourselves. Building ecosystems is hard. Because you have to, collaboration moves at the speed of trust. And so what does it mean for us to build trust? One of the really important things about community safety is that community safety is community work. And very often the definitions by institutions and municipalities around what our work is take precedent over what community says our work is. And so I think, again, coming back to this idea that our work has to be community centered. So I'll start there. The community is the middle of the ecosystem. Right. And then from there, when we identify what these risk factors are, right? So whether that is access to food, right? Like creating food security, access to family sustaining jobs, safe, affordable housing, right? Like, there are all of these things. As you start to identify what increases folks' risk to participate in violence, then you start to pull in partners to meet and address those needs, right? And it's not all happenstance, right? Like, it's not like, oh, you do this work, let's come to the table. But we got to have some conversation. And the best way I can talk about it is through a sports metaphor, right? And since Mark played ball, I'm gonna use basketball, right? I'm 5'7", right? The only time I should be in the paint is if it's a fast break or right, or I'm coming off of right, like
A little help defense, trying to help,
defense, right?
digging in there, helping out a little bit.
Right, but like,
Not for long.
I'm not coming down. I'm not in the paint with my hand up trying to post somebody in the paint. I'm 5'7".
Gotcha.
That's not where I'm supposed to be, right? And I think having clarity and definition about what our ecosystem is, who plays what role,
Right.
what transition between organizations look like, what communication looks like, and then the most important piece is we know that conflict is going to happen. We know it's going to happen. It's inevitable. Conflict is not a bad thing. It is how we handle it. So putting those mechanisms for accountability in place ahead of time, making sure that we have a shared definition and approach, makes it easier when it's time to hold one another accountable. And then the last thing I'll say around building the ecosystem is that we have to all be invested in our own healing journeys. Right. We all have our experiences with violence. We all have our experiences with trauma. And we've heard it said, hurt people. Right. And that's not just true for community. That's true for us as service providers. So we have to be peacemakers in our hearts if we're going to be out here facilitating peacemaking for community. And that requires healing at the individual level.
No, that's powerful.
Appreciate you sharing that.
I like the healing people heal, hurt people. I'd just like to lift up the work of all the agencies that's involved, the credible messenger agencies, especially within us 414. Shout out to the team of frontline workers. I'm going to shout out the leadership out at Freighter and what we're doing with Dr. Libby's leadership, Dr. Cherry and Colleen. We have a very special thing going on at Freighter, a trauma quality of life center there where people can come back and get their needs addressed. And that's holistically. So when situations happen, it's within a week, they have a schedule to come back to TQual and see everyone they need to see. One-stop shop. And that's 15 minutes per professional. So I'm talking trauma, physical therapy, occupational therapy, social work. They see us. And so we're able to get that extra plan of care for those families and the persons impacted by violence. And that's ongoing and that's never ending, right? It's never you get 6 visits and that's it. The care goes on as long as the persons need the help and they need the specialist to help them get to where they're going in their healing journey. So shout out to Freighter and the leadership, especially shout out to my esteemed team out at Freighter and also our extended team with our outreach team, violence interruption team, frontline workers, and other agencies that are at the table trying to get this work done. But at the end of the day, it takes the village that we talked about. We talked about the ecosystem, which is the same thing as the village, but a different, more technical term. But we need our people in the community to get off the porch. We need everyone to tap into their families, their extended loved ones, and have those conversations and help us get the work done. Because we can't do it by ourselves, right? We need everyone at the table. So that will be my ask moving forward. Thank you.
I just want to add, in terms of that clinic that he mentioned, what's critically important about that is it significantly reduced the no-show rate. So there are people who have survived gun violence with significant injuries who were not returning for follow-up care. In some cases, those things, injuries would get infected, could lead to a fatality, a medical fatality. But this has reduced that no-show rate astronomically, where people are actually coming back, and instead of going to 5 appointments to this point, they're coming for 1 and getting everything that they need in that 1 appointment.
Absolutely.
No, that's great. We got a caller. Welcome to Be a Voice Radio.
Hi, this is Desmond.
Hey,
Desmond.
Hey, how are you?
We doing
everybody?
All right. Give us some good insight.
That's good. Good. I just I was late tuning in. I'm working, but I wanted to just jump in when we talk about the ecosystem. And the last person that had spoke prior to the when he talked about learning where your lane is in the ecosystem
Mm-hmm.
and developing that. And everybody should like learn to respect what that lane is. And I think in our community right now, and even with the people that do the work, the frontline workers, we need to be a little bit more educated exactly what the ecosystem is, because I think some of us, and I just say us as general, don't really understand what that is. And learning how we can pull from each other and and avoid a lot of conflict with certain entities within ourselves and learn how to work together. I wanted to add that.
Absolutely. Appreciate you adding that to the conversation, and appreciate the work that you do, because you're a part of that ecosystem, and
Definitely.
it totally makes sense when Tristan broke it down like that. Everybody can't play power forward. Everybody can't be the center. Everybody can't play on the field at the same time.
And
we need a bench.
The same play.
I was about to say everybody ain't even in the game. Some people in the bench. In the crowd.
Some people in the wrong sport. That's what you're saying.
Some people can be cheerleaders and be all right.
Yeah. But the good thing is we can all win. That's the good thing.
Right. And the cheerleaders are just as important, because we need those hype men. We need Giannis' brother on the team.
Come on now.
Hyping us up, right?
Now, I would say we don't need him on the team. That's a whole spot.
No.
I need a whole spot, but I need him on the court side bench. You know what I'm saying? I need him over there.
Exactly. So that's what we need, because he gonna hype us up to do what we need to do. So yeah, I just wanted to just really stress that point, because I think there's a place for a lot of people. Not everybody is designed for this work, but I think if we develop the understanding of what your strength is, I don't go too far out my lane, and I would emphasize again, mental wellness, mental health is the key to all of this. And we have to start changing the narrative of everything. That is what Cure Violence actually is based off of. And that starts with our mental wellness. So I really, really want to emphasize that as well, because of course that's my lane in the ecosystem too. So, okay.
Absolutely. Thank you, Desi.
Thanks. I'll talk to y'all later.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Bye.
And if I may, I just, thank you, Deslin, for calling in. And, she has been a fierce advocate and practitioner of this work, even, from the beginning of Forum for Life. And her late husband, Hamid, was our first outreach supervisor, and is dearly missed. And she's remained committed to this work. And so just want to definitely honor her commitment and her voice in this field.
Absolutely.
I wanted to quickly, just briefly jump back to something. And as you know, youth development is near and dear to my heart, and just with history with Urban Underground and other work in the community. But in our recent VR Fast meeting, and VR Fast stands for Violence Response Public Health and Safety Team, which is over 60 people on a call every 2 weeks discussing violence in the area of the city that is hardest hit by violence. There's something called a child death review that Milwaukee County does, where every child who dies in this city, there's a comprehensive review. So any death under the age of 18. What they did, and Tristan mentioned risk factors before, is they basically analyzed the risk factors for the child homicides over the past year. And basically there were a series of factors that rose to the top, which may be of a strong interest to the superintendent. Number one was school absenteeism, was the number one risk factor that the child homicides had in common. Behavior referrals at school, child having access to a gun or weapon. So when we look at what's happening in the community right now, the young people that are being victimized by gun violence, we have to Mark's point, people have to jump off the porch, but also talk to their children in their own homes and basically talk about gun violence, ensure they don't have access to a firearm. And we have to collectively do everything possible to ensure that this is no longer the leading cause of death of children in our city, in this country.
Hey, that's a great way to bring this to a close. Really appreciate you, Reggie, Mark, Tristan. Great conversation, and it's one that we are continuing to have in our role as Wisconsin Voices, to advocate and to educate our community on the best solutions of how do we get our way up out of this, but how do we collaborate and build the ecosystem out of this. I think that's the better way to put it, because these things just don't turn around on their own, or just like we wake up one day and it changes. So thank you all for tuning in. Be a Voice Radio. We're out.
You're listening to